Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway,
I've been on my nerdy shit recently, so I was at the comic book store looking for anime statues, and someone hit my car, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" So that's
Yeah, it's
why
the worst.
I was late to this.
What anime have you been into recently?
Honestly, there's so much One Piece that I just have to be watching just like a ton of
To
One
keep up?
Piece. Yeah, exactly. There's like fucking 1,300 episodes, you know what I mean?
I've been on a free run recently. That one's fire.
What's that one about?
It's like this elf that she's immortal and she's making friends with humans and she just outlives them. So it's kind of like I think the overall plot is she's falling in love with someone that's already dead that she's like going through her memories of. It's
Mm,
pretty
were
dope though,
were you like an anime kid or did you get into it later in life?
later in life. It
Me
wasn't
too.
until like Naruto and shit like that that I caught on to it.
Bro, I can't. I love One Piece. I've never watched Naruto, but that clip of my guest talking shit about One Piece and saying Naruto is better is at like 800,000 views right now.
That shit was true though. Naruto works hard.
Yeah, that's. But I was saying, all right, who do you relate to more? I guess watching both as like an artist.
Definitely Naruto. Because it's a struggle. Like, he has to gain everybody's validation. That's what he doesn't have at the beginning. Luffy already starts with like a community of people, to where like Naruto, it's more hip hop because he's like an outsider and he has to earn everybody's validation slowly. That's my
I,
opinion on it.
I fuck with it. I feel like I have to watch Naruto now, but I'm like, God damn, that's a real fucking time commitment. I don't really want to be given that much fucking time to this thing.
Yeah, the Shippuden, like when he's an adult, that one's way stretched out too. It's crazy, like the filler.
I feel like anime is a lot like weed, where it's like it'll fuck you up if it was introduced to you too young.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I
I
have
found
friends
both
that watch all
later,
of them.
you know? Were you were smoking young and shit. I was like smoking weed and shit, like you were smoking young.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
How
absolutely. I
old were
started
you when
really
you
young.
first smoked?
Probably 12, 13, like around that age.
Damn, how old were you when you first started making music?
So it's always something I've wanted to do, but I never had the opportunity. So like in school, I tried to fuck around with band and all that, but I mean that wasn't what I was trying to make. I always tried to mess around with friends that had studios and never could link it up. So when I finally got a house and I had money, that was the first thing I went to is set up a studio, start painting, start making music.
And how old were
Probably
you?
around 2017, I started trying to learn Ableton. And then after like a lot of shortcomings, I feel like in 2021 I started to master it a little bit and I started to be able to make stuff on it.
So before it was just kind of like you didn't like it was just like a thing you were wanted to do one day, but you weren't like
Yeah.
freestyling in your car and shit and
Oh no, I
like
was always
doing
freestyling, like on the corners. That was almost like a different thing than music though. It was like a competition. Like meet up with people before school and freestyle. That was like I looked at that as more poetry than music because the people that are good at freestyling aren't good at being in the studio because they're used to like shouting and like being aggressive and breaking down the situation in real time. They're not like recording artists, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's a little different.
No, I feel you. It's funny. It's a lot like stand up where it's like I never did stand up, but like you would test jokes out on friends, but that's not comedy. That's just
Yeah.
like you trying to get that little fix, you know what I mean? But it's
Mm-hmm.
not like the pursuit of the art.
Yeah. It's like you're trying to either earn the respect of the crowd or earn the respect of the person you're freestyling with. And it's
Hmm.
different than like putting something out to earn respect through like that's my art, it's a little different.
Were you good like at first or did you suck? Like
I was always
freestyling
good at
jokes, right?
rhyming. It was like the flow took me a while to get, but once I got there, then I could like burn people on the streets and stuff. That was fire.
How do you
High
find
school was like my peak freestyle era.
how do you find a flow?
Um, like when you listen to music, like there's imaginary pockets. So like listening to I listen to a lot of instrumental hip hop. So I guess the flow was like I would imagine the pockets of like a song and then just like da 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 and then da 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 and just fill in those pockets. And then like when you start to like freestyle with someone, it's like you just put the words in and like adapt it, and you're always like emulating artists that you respect. So I feel like that's kind of where it comes from initially.
That's really funny. I've never like heard someone describe it that way, and it's very much like speaking. It's like you're like like a baby. You're like mumbling at first, just trying to get the like tone of
Hmm.
it, and then you can develop the words later.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And lyrics rhyming just was it came easy.
Yeah, lyrics, rhyming, like what I have a lot of stuff to say. So like it was kind of creating the charm element of it to make people be willing to listen.
No, I feel you, but it's funny because all right, so as you said, you're like a painter too,
Hmm.
and an artist in that way. And I feel like people's brains either go to one or the other. It's like I'm a very visual person or like I'm a very like wordy person. Like I can understand the nuance of words or I can understand
Hmm.
the nuance of vision, but very rarely do the two cross over.
So like see them as kind of connected. When I'm painting, I'm visualizing sounds. It's almost like synesthesia. To me, everything is connected. So I've always wanted to do both. And the way I look at it, like I took the time to master painting, and that's just a learning curve. It's having the patience to learn and adapt and change. And I feel like once you learn how to master one thing and learn that it's really all about patience, it's not hard to apply that same ethos to another form of art, even if it's completely different.
But what like so you see paint like all right, I'm not a very visual person. Like only I only see words really. Like I don't see vision like in
Hmm.
my brain. What do you like what do you get that? Like what do you see? Do you see everything? You see music, you see visual and like what how does your brain
I don't really
process that?
think in words. I think in like images and scenes. So like when
Mhm.
I'm very connected to like memories. So when I go into my imagination, it's very similar to the way I recall memories, where I try to visually and sensory wise put myself in the position of where I was then, reconnect to my senses, and then try to recall with as much accuracy as I can. So then when I imagine new things, it's kind of that same thing where I place myself there physically, and then I start to perceive the senses within my own head, if that makes sense. It's like like people who do dissociatives kind of get into like that dream world where it's like lucid dreaming.
Mhm.
I feel like that's the closest way I could describe it. Like when people go into K holes and they say it's like they're dreaming, but it's like they're physically there at the same time. I feel like I can do that pretty well, like completely dissociate and go into my imagination. And it's almost like a trauma defense of like, whatever, I'll just cut off, from the outside world.
You ever done ketamine?
Yeah.
I've never done ketamine. I've seen people, like it's I'm very specific with the stuff that I've used. I'm like more of a psychedelic guy. I think because it
Hmm.
gives me visuals.
Psychedelics are a lot cooler. Dissociatives just do too much. It's hitting too many parts of your brain, too many parts of your body. It hits your central nervous system. It even hits like your cannabinoid receptors, so it'll change like your weed tolerance and stuff too. So it's just too weird. I think it's weird people do ketamine and go to concerts. It's like why cut off your senses to then go experience music? That never made sense to me
What does it
personally.
feel like?
Uh the best way I would like a large dose of it, it's like you're disconnected from your own senses and your senses are being hooked up to your dreams.
All right, I'm trying to figure that out. So it's like so it's like when you're in a dream and you're just kind of floating along. It's not like you're
Hmm.
actually like physically there.
It feels like you can experience things more in your imagination, like you can feel it, you can smell it. At least that's my experience with dissociatives.
Okay, every friend that I have who does it always puts on like a weird movie from their childhood And I'm like, this is such a weird drug right now. Like, there's
Nostalgia.
not many drugs that make you like just be like, let me watch this child country bears. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like the South Park episode where everybody was on dissociatives and they were just watching like public access TV of dogs and stuff.
exactly, exactly. I'm not gonna lie, this is the first podcast I've done with the shaved face. So it's tripping me out looking in the camera. I'm too high and I'm like, who is that other person on Zoom right now?
It
When's the
definitely
last
took
time
a
you
couple
shaved your
years
face?
off.
What'd you
I
say?
sh it took a couple years off your
I
age, I feel
did. I
like. You
look
look a
like a
little younger.
baby now. Yeah.
I shave all the time, but my hair grows fast, so it's like I can shave and then I'll have my beard again the next day, like at least the shadow of it.
Do you have long hair?
Yeah, yeah. I donate it every year. So like I cut it off and donate it to cancer. So I grow like 12 inches a year.
Damn. How long have you been doing that?
Just I have like a bunch of crowns on my head. So when my hair is not when it's short, it's like swirly. So I just like pull it back and keep it long. It's easier.
Oh, really? But how long have you been doing the donating?
Probably like 4 years straight now.
Real? What made you want to do that?
The haircut is free, but it's also like I went to get it cut off, and then they pointed that out, and then
The
they say it
haircut is
helps
free.
people, so
Flip it.
it's a no-brainer, you know.
Yeah, of course, it's a good thing, but that is so funny. It's
So I
like,
never have to pay for my haircut.
yeah, no, that, hey, and if you're, it's funny because like I'll see ads on Instagram for like sperm donation and shit, and it's like your chick, your girl will be so happy that you have $1,000 more. And I'm like, yeah, but you're also gonna have like 30 kids out there. It's just funny how like you're like, it's a free haircut. Of course it's a good thing, but that's just a hilarious first thing that you said.
Yeah, absolutely. But it feels good to help people. You're responsible for like mailing it, so that's annoying, but other than that, it's not too hard.
Wait, wait, wait. So they cut your
They cut
hair.
it off, they band it up, they give it to you, and then they give you like the postal thing, and then you fill it out and then mail it. And the post office apparently like covers it.
So you don't even really, there's definitely motherfuckers who just do it for the free haircut
Just do it for
and
the
then just
haircut and then
throw
never
their
mail it.
hair out right in the fucking supercuts fucking parking lot. Just throw
Oh,
that
absolutely.
shit. You could just lie. You
hmm
know, so they don't even do it. Like they just trust that you're gonna do it.
Yeah, I suppose. But I guess if someone has long hair and they're getting it cut, they assume it's like significant enough to them that they're hopefully gonna mail that shit.
I think this is a good scam. People listening who want free haircut, but your hair
They're
needs to
taking
be a certain
advantage.
length.
Yeah, they need at least like 10 inches.
Sounds like a porn star. So you didn't start making music till you said 2017. So that's what, 7 years now or 6 years from
Yeah,
like,
like
'cause we're
six
not.
years. But it was like 3 years of struggling, like trying to meet up with people, and then COVID didn't make that easier. So, I actually honestly like everybody locking down for COVID is probably the biggest motivator because then I was like, all right, I just have to do everything myself. Like I can't rely on anybody. And I'm out in Indiana, so like it was really like slim pickings for who I could work with. So now I just take the train out to Chicago like every Saturday and just do stuff up there because it's just better community, more hip hop people.
Do you feel like you need that in hip hop, like a community, or do you feel like you can just kind of grow online?
I think, well, online is a community. So if you can find a community online, I think it's the same thing, but you get different feedback. And I think the whole point of hip hop is to connect with your community. Like, as a philosophy, initially it was like developed to compete and then reclaim your environment, compete non-violently, gain respect without like having to do gang shit, and just put different people in the community on a pedestal instead of it being like who's the most vicious, who's the most like crazy. It can be like who's the most fire, who's the most like who's the best at dancing, who's the best at DJing.
Excuse me while I die from the sweet. That is funny that that's the philosophy that it was. I want to go back to like the community and your story and everything. But I was just thinking about that, how like rap has gone back to the other side of it, where it's kind
Hmm.
of like it's now more about are you really doing what you're rapping about? It's not,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's
It's also like initially it was supposed to be like we don't need the billionaires, we don't need the studios, we don't need none of that. We can do it within our own community without any exterior help. And now everybody's like trying to be Jay-Z, seeking the validation of the billionaires, trying to make it seem like your record sales are what it's all about instead of kind of like the Mos Def Drake argument that Drake's not speaking to the community. He kind of is just wanting cheerleaders as he's like kind of hyping up his success in this trajectory.
do you think there hits a point in someone's career where they like I used to be a big Drake hater, but
Hmm.
maybe it's because I'm a hipster that now everyone hates him. I kind of like him again. But it
Yeah.
and I don't really like the whole beef stuff, whatever. If he's lying about
Hmm.
a chick, I'm not for that. So I'm not that's not what I'm talking about. But it does feel like I don't like if people want to help and donate their money, that's great. But like, does he have a need to help? Like, because he helps a lot
I think
other ways, you know?
I don't think anybody's trying to take anything away from him as an entertainer and as a performer and as an artist. They're
Hmm.
just saying maybe he's not the best representation of what like we were talking about the initial philosophy of hip hop about connecting with your community, about speaking to your community because I don't feel like Drake is saying anything to like the listener specifically. He's more just entertaining.
Yeah. So you're in Gary.
Yeah, Fort Wayne now, originally Gary. So
So
Fort Wayne's just a
like,
faster growing city, more going on.
I it's funny. I drove through Gary like a couple months ago when I was on tour, but I was thinking about this. Does does Freddie give back to that city? Like, is he a champion of that city?
Um, he does concerts in Chicago, so that's like the closest thing to like giving back.
Okay. I just
But
wasn't
then
sure.
like
You know,
I'll
as
go see Freddie in
I've never
Chicago
talked
and
to a rapper from that area, so I want, you know.
I mean, like Freddie is a huge inspiration. We have zero success stories. It's like David Letterman and Freddie. It's like the two people, Michael Jackson, but that's like a monumental level. Um,
Those are three huge people. You're like Jesus Christ, Buddha, and Muhammad all grew
well,
up in my fucking hometown.
that's like the three that I can think of, though.
But Michael Jackson, David Letterman, like Michael Jackson's the biggest singer of all time. David Letterman's one of the biggest comedians or interviewers of all time. Freddie's a pretty popular rapper.
I think Freddie's an inspiration, and like when I go to see him in Chicago, you'll see a lot of people from Gary at that show that are excited to see someone from Gary that's being successful. So I think that has a positive impact. But Freddie, I think like he moved out to the West Coast, like it's a little different. I don't think there's like the only one giving back to Gary right now is the casino, ironically. Like they're on this like $10 million donation thing to help rebuild the communities. And the casino itself, like the spokesperson was talking crap about the churches, that the churches aren't doing anything. They're like, there's two organizations that are getting all the money from this community, the churches and the casino. And they're like, at least the casino is going to give back. So that's like the point Gary's at. Like my principal at my school was like a coke dealer, like a famous coke dealer, and she got like arrested and had a bunch of like submachine guns in her trunk. Super good principal, but like the vibe is different.
Yeah, no one's fucking with her. She'll fucking she has a machine gun on her desk.
Everybody was like, "Why does Miss Curry go by Miss White?" And they're just like, "No, she's Miss White. It's not Miss Curry, it's Miss White." And she was one of Prince's background singers, and apparently was like one of his coke dealers as well, and showed up in his memoir. It's just crazy stuff. Now the last time I saw her though, when she got out of prison, she was working at the Dollar Tree.
She has a that's a that she's had a full life.
Hmm.
That woman's had a full life. You gotta have her do a narration on a fucking album. Fucking
Oh yeah, that would be
host
fire.
a project, bro. Her
She had
shit.
pipes. She was a great singer. She's fire.
All right, so you get to Chicago and you kind of find the community.
Hmm.
Like, what's the next steps? For like, what are the next steps in your story?
Well, my upcoming project, Prayers on Pay. It's actually funny. I met my co-producer for this project at a Rock Marcy show in Chicago, and I initially like blew him off because you're at a show and someone hears you talk about rap and they're like, "I have a studio, let's link up," and I'm like, "No, I'm good." Then I saw him again at a Freddie Gibbs show, and then same thing. I'm like, we just keep running into each other. So I met up with him, went to his studio. It was fire. He actually was a lot more humble than like he was letting on. Like he has like a huge like catalog of projects. Has been working with people ever since like the Def Jux days, like that kind of scene. He's from the New York area, so we started collabing on
What's his
instrumentals,
name?
and it was just fire. DJ Zesto.
DJ Zesto. Shout out DJ
So
Zesto.
yeah, shout out DJ Zesto. He's done stuff with like Billy Woods, Supercron, Flight Brothers, some fire solo albums, like kind of that segment of hip hop. But yeah, the album's fire. I came into his studio with a bunch of loops and like one shots that I made, and he just started cutting it up, interlacing the drums, and like the tracks just started coming together. He's kind of like the one who did all the drums on the album. I did more like the melodies and the synthesizer stuff, and then he did the drums, and then I go back in and like reproduce his beats. That was kind of our process.
How long between you meeting and you going over to his studio was it?
Like a few months,
And then how long between that and this project
2
being
years
done?
now.
Wow.
So
And have
the
you been working on
instrumentals
this the whole time, or was this project like an
the
idea
whole
that
time,
came later?
but it's only when I'm up in Chicago. So it's 2 years off and on. But we've been working remotely, but it's stuff really only happens when we link up. The instrumentals right away were fire. Really, what's happened over this 2 years is just like developing my flow, my delivery, going to open mics, being exposed to more rappers, showing my project, just essentially having a bunch of rappers tell me like your shit needs to be better. And then I'm like, all right, okay. And doing posse cuts with people and trying not to get destroyed on the posse cuts.
Yeah. Have you
So
been
that's
destroyed on a posse cut before?
well, there's one posse cut on the album where everybody felt that way and like everybody re-recorded their verse. So it's like I don't know why people don't do posse cuts anymore. They're fire in my opinion. Maybe it's the attention span, but like if you get a bunch of real MCs on a track, the competition is next level. And then they'll all rise and then, like sometimes you'll get verses better than what these people have been doing on their projects in my opinion. But
The
posse cuts have
posse
always
cut
been my
thing
favorite.
is funny because I love a good posse cut, but then I felt like you know how people always say what do they call it? They call it like the like feature bubble where it's like
Hmm.
everyone was selling features so it like ruined the it being special to get a feature type thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there would be people who would buy like three features that verses that had nothing really to do with each other and then just throw them on a song. And then that's
Mm.
kind of what like the posse cut became instead
You
of like
have
what
you have to
Russ
curate
did,
it.
which I don't even love Russ as an artist that much, but I loved those projects where him just doing posse cuts with all the best rappers.
Hmm. I think if it's a posse cut, you definitely should let the rappers know it's a posse cut. Let them know who else is on it. You should probably let them hear the other verses before they finalize their verse, but that's just like an opinion. I tried to facilitate everything in a way where I didn't try to like prompt it, but I'm like, this is kind of what this song is about. Because my project's also cinematic, I'm doing a visual element to it. So that kind of gave me the excuse to be like, hey, has a narrative. This song has a place within this project, and this is what the song is about. And I think that gave people the ability to kind of be on subject, and then letting them know it's a posse cut kind of brings in that competitiveness, and then just having everybody have approval on what their final verse is helps it rise to a certain level. I think it's whack to buy a feature and then put that feature on a song with another rapper without approval from the initial feature. I think that's just a whack practice that's been going on too long.
What is the open mic music scene like? Because I know what open mic comedy is like, but I never really, you know what I mean?
It's kind of whack. It just depends. Like you have to be really versatile. Luckily in Chicago, there's some like tried and true locations that are like legacy locations, kind of like probably what the Comedy Store would be or something, where this place has legends so come through and like perform the finishing set, but then the day will be open to like artists of a certain level to come on. Stuff like that is cool. Then there's stuff like in Indiana, the open mics are just like a bar where you need to upload your instrumental to YouTube because they're just going to play it on YouTube. And then you'll get a bunch of like covers. Like I had a dude pay me $300 to record his concert. And then I get there and it's an open mic at a bar and he's performing R. Kelly covers. And the crowd thought that was his original music. And he paid a girl in the audience to come up and like get on her knees and like kiss his hand and shit. And I was like, oh, this is really weird. And then he was pissed that I wouldn't upload it to my YouTube channel.
Did you
So
get paid though?
yeah, I got paid. I brought all this equipment and then I had nothing to hook up to. They were playing it off of YouTube.
If ever there was a time to do cover R. Kelly music, it is right now.
People don't know what it is. They're like, oh, this dude's fire.
Yeah, they're like, how is he not the most famous person if this is what and he got fucking bitches kissing his hand in the audience?
Hmm.
What's the
Yeah.
craziest thing you've seen at like an open mic or at a
Uh,
show or like
People crying is always wild. Like, why set yourself up for that if you're gonna start crying? I always think that's a little like that's always like wild. That's probably the craziest thing I've seen at an open mic besides like that R. Kelly story. Concerts, I've been to some crazy concerts, like music festivals and stuff, outdoor music festivals. Uh, Probably a Jamiroquai concert is the craziest crowd I've ever been in.
why?
Because people were there was butt ass naked people on LSD just like running through the crowd grinding on everyone. And
Were
like
you
it
doing
turned
that?
no, no, there was these two gay dudes next to me and this chick comes up butt ass naked tries to grind on them and then they're both like trying to like get her off and then she comes to me and I just stiff arm her like to the side and she goes off to behind me and I'm like, "Oh, dodged a bullet."
I think
But
yo, I think I need to film some content at a Jamiroquai concert.
it was wild. He got everybody two-stepping, and I think that's what started it. Like once everybody got two-stepping and salsa dancing, like people started ripping their clothes off. And he did
Popping
prompt it. He
fucking
was,
tabs of acid.
and then I've been at DJ festivals where a DJ is like, "Who wants their dick sucked?" And then people will raise their hand, and then he'll be like, "Who wants to suck dick?" And then other people will raise their hand, and he'll be like, "Link up, link up." And then you'll just see people leave the concert, or like you'll see people throw their pashmina on right in the middle of the concert and start going to work. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, I can't lie. I got a hand job on the dance floor of a Riff Raff concert once, so I'm no better than these people. I'm no better than these people. Have you ever tripped at a concert?
I always like to at music festivals, in moderation and safety, but like my problem is like
I
I
like
hate
to
when my
go no
friends try to do.
moderation and be really unsafe when I consume at concerts.
The problem is my moderation is like a quarter of mushrooms or like five
God
tabs of acid. And other people
damn.
will try to
That's
emulate
why you
my
got that
dose.
DMT shirt on right now.
Yeah, I actually designed this. This is my own like design.
It's dope as hell, but it reminds me of DMT.
Yeah, it's this I have like five jumpsuits like this. They're all designed after like the lasers at concerts. So like when I'm tripping and like watching the show and like the color tracers and all that.
Wait, so you got the matching pants?
Yeah, not on right now because
Okay.
it's like there was no point, but I do
I will.
have the matching
Yeah,
pants.
you weren't expecting to make me have me make you stand up. I
Yeah.
was just trying to sell these sweatsuits.
Oh no, the sweatsuits are fire. And it's made from like the same shit they make their rave clothes out of, like the recycled water bottles. So it's like kind of like water resistant, kind of breathable. Like I like it.
Oh, so you're like a raver.
Yeah, I'm sad. Like my era when I started raving was like the trip hop era, like stuff like Madlib, MF Doom, Flying Lotus, No Sag Theory, where it was like hip hop. And then that disappeared from the raves. There's like no more like hip hop ravers. It's like maybe Earth Gang, still does raves, but that's like very commercial. Like
Yeah.
the Knowledge will still do raves, but that's like few and far between. It's like struggling to catch a good like hip hop rave show.
Who's the yeah, I do love knowledge. I do love knowledge. Who's the I like K Tronada a lot.
He's the dude right now for hip hop
Yeah.
raves. He's the dude.
His
Um,
shit's so fun. That album with the
Channel
weird
Trace
eyes.
too.
Okay.
He's
And then
fire.
what? Toro et Moi, who's
He's
like
fire, but
not
he's doing
really,
country now.
really, because I know he's more like indie, but I feel like he could get into that kind of
hmm
shit.
I saw him do a DJ set where he used the like Hello Barbie song.
Really? I got caked by Steve Aoki once.
Oh, that's dope.
I saw Kendrick Lamar open up for Steve Aoki in like 2011, 2012. Like
That's weird.
it was maybe the month that Good Kid, Mad City dropped. Like he wasn't famous yet.
That
Like it
was the
was like
era.
so that's why he was opening up for Steve Aoki, which is like the weirdest lineup ever, you know?
People forget how fast his like glow up was after the Good Kid, Mad City drop. I remember seeing him on the radio when Kendrick first dropped that, and he was rapping with Freddie when Freddie dropped Cold Day in Hell. And I remember at the time I'm like, this kid just got bodied by Freddie. Freddie's on like this upward trajectory. Nope, that Kendrick kid, like that album slammed, became a superstar.
I think that's a good proof to people that you never know. Like
hmm
one thing can make you a household name.
Yeah, absolutely. People still reference that album. Like they'll be like, I don't even like Damn, I don't like Mr. Morale, but Good Kid, Mad City though.
I'm that person. No, I like the other stuff, but I think Good Kid, Mad City's his best project to me.
I I would say To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, Good Kid, Mad City, Untitled, then probably like the Mr. Morale album, and then his other shit.
Oh, damn. So you don't like Section 80?
No, I don't like Section 80. I know that's the one that got his attention with all the like producers, but for some reason that one never landed with me.
There's a couple good projects on it. It's funny as Isaiah Rashad just followed me today, and I like not screamed, but a little bit was like, "Fuck yeah!" Because I love like, oh my god, TDE when
hmm
they were like what like they were
That was the
it.
era
You know
of the
what I
free
mean?
lunch and shit. That was a fire track. The Sun's Tirade, I think the
Absol
album. Yeah,
Absol's one
Absol.
of the most underrated rappers. I feel like
Did you hear the Absol track on the new Schoolboy project? That one was fire.
that whole Schoolboy project was really good.
hmm That was fire. People were judging him because of his late night show. I feel like he had a lot of vocal modulation on the album, and then when he performed it live, it was just like raw, and people were like, ah.
It's really tough to keep people's attention nowadays.
hmm
Who do you look up to for that, like for promotion?
For promotion,
Like what artists promote themselves well?
honestly, I don't think there's a good way to go about it. I think probably like the Griselda method of just keep putting out projects, keep being confident, do everything. That's probably the best promotion you can do.
Yeah.
Um, Doing live shows, I think people forget like that is way more impactful than like seeing somebody on a screen.
You build real fans through live shows.
Absolutely. And you cut your teeth, you get better. Like if you're just sitting in your bedroom, you're just complacent. I know there's people like J. Cole that got fire like just producing in the closet, but like not everybody is self-motivated like that.
Do you do you feel like you got became a better rapper when you were performing?
I feel like I had no way to improve if I'm just not getting like a feedback response. Like if I'm just posting stuff on YouTube and it's either like you're whack or you're fire, I can't really like do anything with that. But when you're performing live, you can read the crowd, so it's different.
Is there bombing?
Yeah, yeah.
What's bombing like for music? I know what it is for comedy. It's silence or booing.
It's usually just people have the mix wrong or like the crowd just goes still and then they just start talking.
Is that a
People,
thing? Like you freak out, not freak out, but like people talking is like a big thing for music.
I mean, that's a good sign that you're not doing well. Like if people are no longer engaged and everybody's like turned away.
Yeah. What's the best show you've ever had?
They've all been about the same. I've I haven't had the opportunity to really do a show like how I want to yet. You know what I mean? I want to have the visuals. I want to be able to show my art. So I would say I'm not satisfied with anything I've done so far.
Say you have like a perfect night of music with three headliners.
Hmm.
Like it's your show, but you got three of like your dream headliners. Who would they be?
Uh, Probably like if I could put together any lineup, it'd be No Worries, Anderson Pocket Knowledge. It would be Flying Lotus, and give me throw in just a rando like any rapper that's fire would do at the end of that. Isaiah Rashad, someone like that, that would be fire.
Fire. You really love
That's just because I
you
want to
like
see him live, though.
yeah, I'd love to see him live. I want to see Flying Lotus live.
If you catch one of his Hypercube shows, I think that's the best live show there is.
What's a Hypercube show?
It's where he has these holograms. It's like when he does outdoor music festivals. He's only done like 3 or 4 Hypercube shows, but he has like this visual effect where it's like holograms, like 3D holograms that
You ever
correlate with
hear
the
of a
music.
dude, Azizi Gibson?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
used to be signed to Flying Lotus.
He was one of
He-
the voices of Captain Murphy.
yeah, uh-huh. His new project, he's like an artist that I've loved for a long time, but he just dropped a new project that's so good. And I feel it's so weird how like it's like Flying Lotus. Flying Lotus is really big in some
Hmm.
worlds, but I don't think he's like a household name. You know what I mean? Like
He got honored by the Hip Hop at 50 thing. He was one of the few West Coast guys that got honored during that.
that's pretty cool. But do you know what I mean? Like I guess maybe
Hmm.
to the younger generation, like I like younger kid music too, like a lot of the trappier shit or the drill shit, and I feel like they don't ever cross over into the other world.
Like how kids these days don't know who Jeezy is at all.
That's so crazy.
His career disappeared somehow to the younger generation. I don't know when that happened, but
Yeah, I
I
think
think I think
Gucci
Flying
won
Lotus
that.
isn't. Yeah, Gucci won quarter brick, but I think Flying Lotus is in a weird place in his career where like music nerds put him on such a high pedestal that like the hipster in them was like, well, he's good, but like there's other people. So it's like only like certain people know about him, and then they don't want to list him because they assume the other music nerds know who Flying Lotus is.
The music nerd thing, I feel like it does ruin a lot of potential in music.
Mm,
The people, I think the reviewing of albums. I was in an
yeah.
interview the other day, and I guess I had talked shit about Anthony Fantano, which I don't remember doing, but I guess I did in an interview and they brought it up to me.
Hmm.
And I couldn't put my words to it right. But I think it's just the whole culture of album reviews make it that people don't test shit anymore.
Hmm.
And it kind of ruins the art of people being like, this is going to be trash or this is trash. It's like, who cares? It's not
Hmm.
trash to some people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's weird. I think the music, too many people form their opinions on the music reviewers. The music reviewers are reviewing it too objectively also. They're not really taking into account like the artistic process of the people themselves or like the people like Anthony Fantano, they're not like real hip hop people, but they're reviewing all these hip hop albums. Not that he isn't extremely knowledgeable, but he's not from the place of like where this music is intended to hit. If I don't know a good way to put it, but I think another
yeah,
problem is he Anthony Fantano specifically will grade people on a curve. So if he expects more from an artist, he'll review them lower, and then people will compare like this artist to that artist, like, and it throws. I think that also is unfair and throws people off.
I agree, and it's honestly, and I said this in the interview. I was like, if we met, we'd probably get along. But
Hmm.
I do think it's album reviews in whole is just such a slimy thing. Like reviewing is a slimy thing, and I'm saying that as someone who's like, but I'll never publicly talk shit about like someone's project.
Hmm. I think it's more interesting to big up a project, talk about why you like it, what's fire, get into the
Hmm.
content. Like
Exactly.
like when Anthony Fantano reviews rap albums, I don't hear him spit any lyrics ever. And it's like, how are you reviewing the rap albums if you're not digesting the lyrics? But um, that's why I like certain people better. Like Anthony Fantano is a legend, and he's has that workload, and I can't take anything away from that. That's a stressful job as well to be the number one dude. But personally would rather watch someone like Professor Sky that just
Shout
big
out
ups
my
albums
guy, Professor Sky.
because he just more does like essays and offers his perspective. I like that style more.
He's such a good dude. Everyone who's listened to this, after you finish this episode and after you listen to your project, go listen to my interview with Professor Sky.
Yeah, absolutely. He's fire. When I first started music, he was doing a thing where like you could submit music and he might review it. And he actually reviewed a couple of my projects, and that was like instrumental to getting me the confidence to start a studio project.
Oh, really?
Hmm. So you can
That's
look those
awesome.
up too. He's reviewed like both of my bedroom projects.
That's dope as hell. I had no idea.
So
Wow.
those are
How
out
old
on
are
his
you,
channel.
if you mind me asking?
20, this is I'm getting into my late 20s, so it's confusing me. 29.
Okay. Yeah, so you're still young and shit. So that's awesome. So 2017 to now. So when did the last project come out? The bedroom project.
My first two albums dropped right at the beginning of 2022. I took like a month on each, and I just got them out. I did some quick animation for the visuals, did some paintings, and this one I'm just taking more time. I'm just trying to like perfect every element, and I got features on. So like this one has like a Jay Skis verse. I have DeCloth on it, just different artists that I really respected that I think would sound good on my beats, and they stuck to the subject matter of the album, and like really like the communication was good. All the like the story is very cohesive. So like there's a narrative arc, and I'm animating the visuals uh like psychedelic like a psychedelic anime.
Do you want to describe what it is, or do you want to let people listen and figure it out?
So the album is about like Gary. It's about Indiana, and it's so right before I started making it, my father passed, so that was a big influence on the album. He was like the
I'm sorry
person
to
who
hear
in
that.
yeah, he was pretty young, but extracorporeal lung disease. He was a painter. The painting supplies he worked with just made it to where he could no longer breathe, and he passed at home. I was with him, like brutal to pass that way, where like even if you have an oxygen tank, you're not breathing and you're just gonna go. So, I wanted to do something that kind of honored him because he's the one who introduced me to the arts, and he was a successful painter and kind of taught me how to paint. So I really wanted to make an album where each song felt like a concept, a painting, like very in depth, very psychedelic. And what the album ended up being about is about like Gary, the history, my past, and what it took to get to a place where I could be creative. Kind of like the consequences of street life. I talk a little bit about my mom, who's been kind of struggling for many years, and just different things that happened. Like I got into a severe car crash while I was making the album, and like went through the windshield of the car, and it like created it gashed like all the way across my eyes. So like while I was recording and writing most of the songs, I couldn't even like see or like use my eyes. And I there's pictures of me in the studio with stitches across my eyes, like rapping some of the first verses.
Jesus Christ, you went through the windshield?
It was like I was feeling the wheel, and then I just like was unconscious, right? And I felt everything crunching, and I could feel like my legs were getting trapped. So I pulled my knees up to my chest, and like the car just folded. It was a frontal collision. Someone would passed into my lane, and just we hit head on.
God damn, I'm glad you're okay. Do you have any loss of vision or anything?
No. At the time, I was right next to the hospital. So like I was like, oh shit, I can just walk to the hospital. So I just left everything. And they were like, do you want to talk to the
Oh, I
ambulance?
thought you
And I
just
was like,
walked to the hospital?
yeah, I just walked to the hospital.
You
And
made
they were
it
like, do you
get
need an
ejected
ambulance?
right into the front doors.
Yeah. The other dude was messed up. I kind of like I told people to call 911 for him, and they were like, "You do it." And I was like, "I can't even see right now." And it was just like blurry,
They
like
said
shapes.
you do it? What the
Yeah, they were like, "You do it." And I was like,
Jesus
"No."
Christ.
I was like,
Fuck
"Whatever, I'm
those
leaving."
people.
And they were like, "What are you going to do about your car?" And I didn't even look back. Like I just kept going. I was like I've still never seen that car.
Crazy. I'm glad you're okay, man. What the
But
fuck?
my philosophy, I was so torn up about like losing my dad and not having like someone that would give me like the validation that I wanted because he was the dude I would talk to, be like, look at this dope shit I did. And he'd be like, oh, that's dope. So like losing that and trying to like make that album, I was like, nothing is gonna stop me. And the first time I went to Chicago to meet with my DJ, I actually got into another car accident where someone ran a red light and hit me on my side. And I was like, oh, come on. And like that car also got totaled, but there was an auto body shop that had my back and just like stored it there for a few weeks. And a tow company in Fort Wayne went to Chicago and towed it for like $300. So I was actually able to fix that vehicle. But yeah, the I thought I was gonna just lose my second car like right away again. That was crazy.
That is crazy. So there's a lot of pain that went into the making of this project.
Yeah, the beginning just felt like everything was trying to stop me. And then once things started going, it went smooth. That's why I just take the train now. I'm like, I'm not letting anything stop me. I actually got
Do
delayed
you
12
have like
hours on the train
PTSD
though.
from driving?
I have like, nah, I have slow reaction times to driving. That's the only thing that like worries me is I'm such a slow like thinker. I think deeply, but I don't come to quick conclusions. I'm not good at like video games. I'm not good at like driving, but like I'm good at like other, you know what I mean, other shit like coming up with solutions. So that's the only thing I worry about with driving. I'd like to get to the point where I live in a city like Chicago where I don't have to have a car. But in Indiana, it's like all highways. It's the crossroads of America. So
I used to stay in Rolling Prairie.
is that like southern Indiana,
No, it's northern Indiana, but it's like probably an hour east of Chicago. It's right on like close to Michigan City.
like near the Hammond area,
Yeah, I
South
dated a
Bend
girl
maybe?
up there.
Yeah. Indiana's weird because like we have some of the most diverse like metropolitan cities and then just the most country area ever surrounding it. So like the difference between like a Fort Wayne person and like just 10 minutes outside of Fort Wayne is astronomical. It's like night and day. They don't like intermix.
You want to end up in Chicago?
I own property in Fort Wayne, so it's kind of tying me down, and the housing market is really funky right now, to where I feel
Yeah.
like if I sell, I won't be able to buy, and especially in Chicago. So I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to rent and then make rental payments.
No, I feel you. Dope on you for owning property. Congrats.
Yeah, the train ride though is only like 3 hours. It's
Not
not a bad
horrible.
commute. Amtrak though will get delayed like 12 hours. Like I was stuck on it for 12 hours the other day. So
You
when
were
I
stuck
arrived in
on the train for 12 hours? Oh, hell no.
so when I arrived at the station, I had to get back on the returning train, and then that one got delayed 3 hours. So it was a 24-hour commute. And some people were coming from New York, so their commute was like 34 hours because they were on a 20-hour commute that then got delayed 12 hours.
Oh my God. I would
And
be
they
like,
said
I
that
need to smoke weed. That would be me. I would be like, I'm gonna smoke in this train if you don't open up a fucking window right now. That's
they
me if
take
I was
smoking
stuck.
stops.
What'd you say?
They take smoking stops.
Oh, good. They should when stuck 12 hours. I needed to. I'd be like, let me out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough. I just hate working and not getting anything done. Just like getting up early, getting on the train, and then
Yeah,
just being stuck. And they're not obligated to refund you or anything. Amtrak is just trash.
fuck that. It's dope you got skis and the cloth on the project because those are. Who do you
Yeah,
have from
absolutely.
cloth?
Riggs and Mooch.
Hard. Yo, Riggs and
Hmm.
Mooch are like so fucking good. Hopefully they're coming on the podcast soon.
Oh, that
But
would be dope.
yeah,
The new Mooch project is dope. Riggs Gold is honestly one of my favorite albums of all time. The Death and the Magician project too with Rome Streets. Both of
oh
those Muggs
yeah.
projects were fire.
And Skis, bro. Skis is so good. Like
Hmm.
he's really something special.
Yeah, positive too. Like not a lot of people are able to be in that lane and also have a positive message like that. So I think that's dope about skis.
I've said this on the podcast before, but it's cool that Conway put the artist on that he did. Like he didn't have to do that. He could have made rappers that were just like him, but he got people who are really like just
Hmm.
cool artists and good people.
And skis is someone who's always been fire live. I've seen him 3 or 4 times and he always delivers. So I tried to, it's like the eye test. Everybody that I took the opportunity and tried to contact to get on the album, I wanted to make sure like they're fire live, they're fire on the vinyl. So it was all people that like I had been a fan of and had seen live several times, like Riggs, like Jay Skis, Chris Crack even. Like I saw him open for Freddie Gibbs, and that's probably one of the best opening performances I've ever seen. He just came out like the crowd went crazy. It was honestly one of the best rap shows, and it was just like a 15-minute opener set.
Chris Crack might be one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. That was
Yeah, Chris Crack is funny. Chris
he's
Crack is
such a
funny.
good dude, and he's so good at like he's such a good musician too. You know,
Yeah,
or
out of people in the
artist or
Chicago area, he's probably my favorite person to work with as far as rappers.
who else out of the Chicago area? Like who are some people I should check out?
Have you heard of Femdot?
Hmm.
Um, I think Backpack Beats is really fire, just like as a producer, and he has his own collective.
Yeah.
Before Lasers is really fire. Um, Obviously Saba. Uh, I'm not trying to do my city dirty. I'm just also not trying to like
No, I
recommend
feel
people
you,
that
but
I
you
don't
gave
think
a
are
good
fire.
list already. I just didn't know if there was someone that you were like, this dude's the next fucking dude out. You know
Honestly,
what
I
I
feel
mean?
that way about Chris Crack. I feel like he's on an upward trajectory. The last 2 albums are fire.
Yeah, he
I mean,
really
all his
is.
stuff, but
Yeah, he's incredible. I loved that he was on Bruiser Wolf's new album.
oh yeah, absolutely. He kills two of the verses on my album. Absolutely, some of the best shit.
That's so cool. So who else do you have on the project? Just those?
Uh, I also have a Conway verse, but that's like kind of top secret. Um, the I have some of the best Indiana rappers in my opinion, like people I've scouted, people I grew up with. Johnny BVO is really fire. Uh, that's as far as local people. There's a guy Nathaniel I have on the project. I think he's fire. He's like a lo-fi, like soundwave rapper, kind of a different style, but he brought a different energy. Um, and then out in New York, there's like a left field kind of new wave rapper that I have on the project called Andre the Artist that is pretty cool.
Dope.
Just a different sound.
You don't want to talk about the Conway?
Um, I'm just not sure if that's going to end up on this project or not. If I
I
might just
feel you.
save that for the next project.
I feel you.
So
But that's
maybe
still
a
dope.
Conway verse.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
that's absolutely dope. That was probably the one I worked for the most. That's been like a 2 year long process. But yeah, shout out Drumwork. Their whole team is fire. I met up with them when they came to Chicago and got to talk with Skis and hang out backstage with them. They're just a dope collective. They put on dope shows. I think for them being a new collective this quickly, they put themselves together really well, really fast. They released like 8 albums last year, which was pretty impressive. Like they were trying to do like this takeover, and all the live events I went to that they put on were just absolutely fire. So I think I'm trying to pay attention. Media Chad is really fire.
Shout out Chad. Shout out OJ.
Oche, everybody on their Drumwork mixtape was
DJT.
fire. Hmm. So
I
that's
got
kind of the
my
people I look
I
up
got
to.
my drumwear compilation that I have some
Oh,
I like co-hosted, right?
oh yeah, that one's fire. The Greetings Earthling is one of the best mixtapes
The oh
ever.
no 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 wait there we go.
Oh yeah, the
Couldn't figure out the
Drumwork
physics of it.
mixtape.
The drumwork one and then yeah, the greetings earthlings.
Yeah, fire, fire, fire. I think Conway's one of the best rappers in the game. Like he's always going to be in my top five.
I agree.
That
I
38
loved
Special
his
album.
last album. I loved his last like major label release.
Yeah, the Won't He Do It.
Won't He Do It was so good.
I think honestly, I think the best album that dropped last year was the Special Machinery.
That one was amazing too. Yeah, that one was, and I liked the Big Ghost remixes.
The Big Ghost remix was fire too. The G Funk.
Yeah, that was really he did his shit on that one.
Yeah, that was fire. I think Conway always will rise to like to meet any expectation of who he's on a project with. I want him to just make music with like the best rappers in the world so that he keeps like just getting better. I don't know, just rising to every like level.
Where
Because I
can
feel like
people? Oh no, no, what were you saying?
I just feel like someone like Conway has no limitations and he puts out so much music. It's like I want to hear like him do an album with everybody just so he can just body everybody. I don't know.
Who do you want to hear him do an album with?
I really want to hear him do an album with like Ransom. That would be fire. I don't know like if they're cool like that, but I think that would just be a fire album. Um, I'm excited for another just full-on Griselda project if they ever do that. Hall and Nash, obviously. Um, I think I'd like to see him do more like I feel like if someone like Jay-Z comes out, I'd like to see him work with Conway. Like stuff like that. Just
I
like I
don't
want to see
really,
the
yeah, because
biggest
they have that
rappers.
one song together, but it was on like
It was like
a
a little
soundtrack.
throwaway.
Yeah, it was like a
Yeah, the King
soundtrack
Kong
album.
song or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, I want to hear like an actual like hip hop song with both of them on it. That would be fire.
yeah.
Uh, just I'd like to hear him on more tracks like with people like Pusha T. I think that would bring some dope shit out. Um, I think it's unfortunate. Like honestly, like I wish the this is probably just beating a dead horse, but the shit with Freddie and Griselda is just really sad, like with the Benny beef. Because I'd like to hear them work with Freddie, but like Freddie's just his own worst enemy, so I don't really
Yeah,
have. That would be the number one though. I'd like to hear.
it
Just not
makes
gonna
sense.
happen.
It makes sense. Where can people find your project?
So I'm gonna be dropping on vinyl, and it's gonna go up on all digital streaming platforms at large. Auteur, Prayers on Pavement. Um, YouTube would probably be the best way because it's gonna have like a movie that goes along with it. I'm just gonna upload all that shit on YouTube, and then coming to Chicago, New York, maybe Atlanta, a couple other cities to do art galleries and premiere the visuals and do a concert.
That's awesome. Oh, when are the vinyls dropping? When's everything coming?
The album is supposed to be uh hopefully May or June. I'm shooting for May.
Cool. We can release this episode right around the same time to help promote it.
Okay, it's not that big of a deal. I'm kind of just doing everything myself. At first, I was like real hard on like deadlines and schedules and plugging stuff properly, but at this point, I'm just trying to make sure the project is as good as it can be. Um, that the visuals are all there. Like I'm really not too concerned about the strategy at this point. I just want to make sure the artistic presentation is all there. Uh, but yeah, maybe do a show in Gary, but it's kind of a struggle. There's not really like Indiana is so conservative Christian that like in like the Sweetwater dude owns everything that like we can't get any shows. There's a nightclub in Fort Wayne that has to have a Christian board of approval approve every single act at the nightclub.
That's crazy. That's so not like where I'm from.
Yeah, it sucks. I literally have to travel to see concerts. That's why I just end up going to festivals so I can just see a
See
weekend.
everybody.
Shout out like Electric Forest, that's a dope festival. Rose on the River in Chicago, they're starting this year. It'll be their first event. It's
Who's
just like a
headlining?
dumb Rose on the River is Flying Lotus, um Volfpeck, My Morning Jacket, Taj Sultana, Bad Bad Not Good, Thundercat.
That's a good lineup right there.
hmm So just dope psychedelic bands mixed with like psychedelic hip hop. That'll be a dope event. Shambhala in Canada is always fire. Uh, and then Halloween in Florida is fire. It's like a mixture of jam band. I like the ones where it's like on a campsite. Like you just go camping. Like it's just a different vibe. City ones are cool too, but like the vibe change of like the festival to the city is too much, and I think it ruins it. Like everybody's worried about getting home.
Yeah, yeah. It's not just like we're staying here all weekend.
Yeah, yeah, it's not just like an endless party, which I prefer that style. Um, but yeah, festivals are dope. I feel like there was like a big boom of them, and now they're like dying out slowly. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely worth checking out. I'm a
That's dope,
raver though,
man.
so
That's awesome. Maybe we can trip at a festival sometime if we're at the same one.
hell yeah. They
This
do
was
comedy
awesome.
stuff at these festivals too, though. You could look into
Yeah,
that
I
part of
might be
it.
doing a festival actually in how far is Cleveland from you?
So I'm right between Cleveland, Chicago, and Detroit, so it's 3 hours.
I might be hosting a festival. I can't give any more details about that in June. A
hmm
pretty big festival in Cleveland, so that would be awesome.
For what you do too, you could always set up a chair like in the commons area of a festival between the stages and just like do a podcast at the festival, just like set up an empty chair and people will
Yeah,
sit down. So
I
that would
just
be another
got
dope way.
the equipment to do that actually. I've been upgrading a lot of my stuff, so I'm actually going to be able to do some live event shit. So it'll be really cool.
That'd be dope, kind of like what Therapy Gecko does.
Exactly, yeah. Where can people find all your stuff?
So I'm putting together a website at largeauteur.com where I'm going to be selling my clothing and you can buy my paintings. So all my stuff is hand painted. Uh,
You did that
the
painting
clothes,
behind you?
yeah, that's one that I did with my father before he passed. And that I did a series of 9 paintings, and then I linked them all together to make my last album cover, LSD TV.
Yeah, that's a beautiful painting.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, clothing, painting, animation, rap, instrumentals. I have a shitload of instrumentals. I'm looking forward to just producing for people in the future, just working with people. So I'm scouting a few people that I want to make a full-on project with. And yeah, this one, I really put a focus on the content, the lyricism. I think the delivery is fire. It's very psychedelic. There's really not anything out that sounds like my project because I did the stems from scratch. I wrote the melodies. It's kind of dark. It's kind of focused on like hopefulness, hopelessness, like um just gritty, grimy, I suppose, but like everything is real. Like the Indiana is so crazy. Like growing up in Gary is so crazy that like I can just talk about like 1% of like what's happened and that would be like the craziest album ever. So that's kind of like what this is.
That's awesome. And where's the website? You said the website's going to be at Large Auteur.
Yeah, at largeauteur.com. I own the domain. I just haven't taken the time. Since I do everything myself, I have to go in, make the website or whatever, um, do the Shopify link, but I'll probably be selling the merch through Shopify. I'm not drop shipping it's actually like in my house, and then I'll ship it out. I'm in Indiana, so it probably be 3 days anywhere in the country. Um, so yeah, super dope, custom clothes. Um, and yeah, definitely. I think Riggs, Chris Crack, and Jay Skeezer and Mooch are all four tied for my favorite verse on the album right now.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait for people to hear it, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Peace out, everyone. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey,